Good morning, San Francisco. Welcome to Free Talk SF, where we are here every day talking about freedom, empathy, and independence for all people in San Francisco. Today is Tuesday, July 7th, 2015, and I am your host, Steven Zeiler. You are joining me out here in beautiful Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. And our mission on this show is to make San Francisco the freest, most empathetic, independent place on earth in history. That's our mission. That's what we're doing every day. And that's what I'm talking about today. Well, an interesting correlation from yesterday. Yesterday I reported on a shooting at Pier 14, and I did more investigation and actually got a newspaper, the SF Examiner. I like local newspapers, and they were saying that the homicide was committed by a undocumented Mexican immigrant, or actually I think it was a Mexican national citizen who's living here in San Francisco. And I thought actually, and the report went on to say that the federal government blames San Francisco's very relaxed immigration stance. Apparently San Francisco is known as a refuge city. Basically, the city officials, or the I guess really just the police and the lawmakers have indicated that they treat all people living in San Francisco with equal rights, and they won't prosecute or try to deport foreign nationals from living in San Francisco. And that really cheered my heart to know that I mean, there really is some independence going on here in San Francisco. I mean, to tell the ICE agents and the federal government that we're going to let our people live here and be free, and we're not going to worry about artificial borders that you've set up, hundreds of years ago, and we're going to treat all humans as they deserve to be treated, with respect and dignity. I think that is amazing. So I'm proud to be a sanctuary city in San Francisco where national borders and national identification don't matter. I am not proud of the man for murdering an innocent woman. But a nice tidbit, we do have relative independence when it comes to immigration, which is very nice. Speaking of that, this whole city is extremely diverse and cosmopolitan. There are all kinds of French schools nearby here. I didn't actually know Haight-Ashbury is such a French area. There's all kinds of different churches. One thing that when I moved here I found remarkable, and this was a few years ago, was the total amount of churches everywhere. There are just churches all over the place, all kinds of different denominations. And at first I thought that was a paradox, because living in Texas, of course, great, thanks Texas. Living in Texas, growing up there, everyone thinks of California as an extremely atheistic, hedonistic place where the state owns and controls everything, and everyone's depressed and regulated and on some type of psychoactive drug. But seeing all these different churches here made me realize that there's actually more respect for religious freedom and religious tolerance here in San Francisco than there was in other places of America. And I like that a lot too. Though dogmatic religions I'm not a fan of, but I would definitely prefer people to voluntarily organize in their communities and use churches to assist each other, help the poor, and just build stronger, more independent communities. That's what the church can do, or different churches. There's all kinds of different churches. If you go over to Japantown, there's a whole set of different churches, Chinatown, all kinds of different places, the Mission, tons of different cultures here, and I love that they're more independent. Okay, so back to the San Francisco Examiner. One great piece of news, and this has to do with the health of our city. I think it's really important that our aspiration as people here is to raise the standard of living for everyone in the city. And there are a lot of ways to do that, a lot of restrictions on the economy that can be removed. But one health item in particular, health is has a huge bearing on standard of living if you're not healthy. And one thing I discovered here when I moved was that there is an actual HIV epidemic in San Francisco, and it's scary, to be honest. It is scary, but great news here in the San Francisco Examiner. Looks like since 2000, since the break of the new century, HIV infections and deaths have been cut in half by a combination of free clinics for people to get tested. One of my favorite clinics here, Magnet SF, free for all gay men. And I think that's a great service, though probably provided by tax money. One day we'll have to discuss maybe a market solution that we can come up with. Academically come up with a market solution. I usually try to find market solutions for everything, even if they're working well. It should be our goal to remove the coercion of the state from all parts of our lives. But HIV down 50% since the turn of the millennium, and that still means there are 300. Last year it was down another 30%. But there were 300 new cases of HIV infection in the city, and 177 deaths from HIV. However, new advances in antiretroviral treatment are allowing people to live for decades with the virus. And now I hope, and this is saying that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration had approved a drug called PrEP, the Truvada-centered pre-exposure prophylaxis, which the advertisements argue will prevent will prevent infection 96% of the time given a healthy exposure to the virus. And I would love to see more market products like that. Unfortunately, the FDA has a long history of restricting solutions, medical solutions, and I never saw the movie Dallas Buyers Club, but I think that was all about getting around FDA restrictions for HIV medication. And yeah, I hope more researchers manage to get through there, and we can lower the barrier to entry. And really, anyone who has HIV or any serious medical condition should have they do have the right to seek any and all medical tests, medical treatments, anything experimental. It's their life and their body. You own your life and your body, and we need to move away from having so many centralized restrictions. But bravo, let's keep it up. Let's use condoms. Use that PrEP if you want, but still use condoms, please. I have lots of gay friends, lots of friends here, and I would hate to see any more of them with HIV. All right. Great. So that is good news, though slightly bad. Another great piece of news. I love this. This is just for fun. Of course, all freedom-loving people, they really just want to live their lives and have a good time and enjoy their neighbors. And thank you, Piano Flowers in the Botanical Garden. pianos flower in the botanical garden article. So there's this botanical garden, beautiful big garden over in Golden Gate Park. If you don't know about it, if you have a San Francisco driver's license, then you can go use the botanical garden for free. There's another state. Actually, last time I went, I didn't want it to be free because it's like, wait a minute, I shouldn't be getting in free. I didn't, other people paid taxes for this, and I'm opposed to that. So I actually paid the $7 to get in because I want to support market-based parks, botanical gardens, that kind of thing. So being able to actually pay to get into a park is awesome. I would love to be able to pay more often to get into parks, if that could mean more parks and higher quality parks. But until July 20th, there are going to be grand pianos in Golden Gate Park in the Botanical Garden. So you can go check out the grand pianos, play a waltz or something, get some friends in fancy dresses and go dance around those pianos. That sounds like a great time. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there this weekend. There's also a free, speaking of free and dancing, there's free Lindy Hop and swing classes on Sunday at 11 a.m. over in Golden Gate Park. There's this one space where people are always roller skating and hula hooping, and it's right by there. So just go down straight in, I think down Fell, straight into Golden Gate Park, and you will find that dancing. So I will be there 11 o'clock on Sunday. All right. Okay. So next thing, as soon as I get a portable microphone, I need to be more portable. I'm here. I've got my nice mic. I got this new Mac, so I only have one USB port, which means we're going on the built-in camera, which turns out to be pretty nice. But I'm going to get a portable microphone, portable camera, and start going around town and interviewing people about freedom and independence and empathy in San Francisco. And one place I want to start is the Department of Motor Vehicles over here, just a few blocks away, I believe, on Fell also. And when I moved to California, the Department of Motor Vehicles was like the opposite of freedom. It is the most time-sucking, soul-crushing, restricting government organization that I've experienced so far. Because the DMV is so incredibly antiquated. There are I had to go in there 5 or 6 times just to get my license converted over from Texas to California. And I'm a great driver, but I had a lot of difficulty because of the way they're organized. There's no, there are just lines all around the building hours before the Department of Motor Vehicles even opens its doors. And you might ask, well, what is causing this? What is causing such an awful experience? And it is quite obvious. Obviously, there is a lack of a market for certification for driving. There's no type of clearing of the market. So you have this incredibly high demand for driving, and you have state requirements for licensing. But of course, people here don't want to spend. They don't want to pay the taxes that are required to build enough DMVs in order to service all of the people who want to drive on the roads. And that whole place is just a circus. If you don't have the exact right piece of paper with just the right barcode on it and all these official stamps, I mean, it's like you go down row after row getting stamps, collecting these official fucking rubber stamps, just in order to drive your car, which you can already do safely and you already have insurance. And so I'm gonna go down to the DMV, go around to those people in line. I'm gonna ask them. We're gonna talk about how we can make a better DMV by allowing market competition for driver's licenses. and I'm going to see what they think. They must be frustrated with the DMV and having to always go in, renew their license, renew this and that, pay the fees, and all the time wasted. It's ridiculous. So I brought up this concept of market competition. Almost everyone is generally in favor of market competition. They are aware that it tends to reduce prices. They are aware that it tends to reduce costs. It increases quality and supply of goods that people want. So what would it look like for a free market, voluntary driver's license DMV? So I was talking with a colleague about this. He really hadn't thought from this voluntary perspective before. So we had a thought experiment, and it really comes down to who is going to verify that people are good enough to drive? Who is going to be issuing certificates of ability to drive on the roads? And does it need to be the state DMV is the question. And the answer is unequivocally no. The state DMV is not necessary to certify that people are able to drive. Now, let's back up all the way. If I wanted to drive on the road is a dangerous place, and in order for me to feel safe, I would want to buy insurance. I would want to buy insurance for my car and my safety. If another car hit me, I would want to be covered and make sure that my medical expenses are covered. Or if I hit someone else, I would want to make sure that their medical expenses or their collateral damage didn't bankrupt me. And so in order to get that insurance, I have to prove to the insurance company that it's worth them insuring me, because if the chances are really high that I'm going to get in an accident and kill someone or damage someone or their property, meaning that I'm not a good driver, then the insurance company is not going to give me insurance. Plain and simple, they exist to reduce that risk. The whole point of insurance companies is to pay to reduce and share the risk of activity in society. And so the insurance company would require that I be certified by an approved driving certification school. Definitely, no doubt, the insurance company would want some proof that I could drive on the road safely. So they would have probably an array of driving schools of which they approved, and I would have to go get certified from one of those institutions. And there you go. In California, now I don't necessarily approve of state mandated insurance, though if there were private roads, if the roads were privately owned, it would make total sense that the road owner would require you to have insurance from a certain set of insurance companies. So that's a lot like the state roads. I guess if you see the state as a private entity, they own the roads, then yeah, it makes sense that they can restrict participation to people with insurance. So I think just having the requirement for insurance and the licensing for the insurance companies themselves by the state at this point is completely sufficient for dealing with licensing issues. Totally sufficient. The insurance companies have a monetary incentive to license people properly, and the DMV obviously also doesn't keep us all that safe on the road. Most deadly accidents are caused by large trucks and not people who are new to driving. People who are new to driving tend to get in more fender benders and less high damage accidents. Also, most deadly accidents are caused by alcohol. And so that really has no bearing on your ability to drive sober at the DMV, or your ability to really shuffle papers around at the DMV. Please stay tuned. We are going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more Free Talk SF. Welcome back to Free Talk SF. I am your host, Steven Zeiler. We're talking about freedom in San Francisco, making San Francisco the freest place on earth for all people. I've got some pretty cool roommates, and I've been talking about this radio show and my various endeavors, enterprises, and campaigns for freedom and liberty. And my roommate, shout out to him, Apurv. He really wants, one thing he loves about San Francisco is the polyamorous culture. And he brings up a great point that freedom isn't always about material ability to consume, and it is not always about political speech. Often it's really in your head. It's very psychological, and the freedom to think what you naturally think and not repress yourself and your own ideas, and especially with things around sexuality. People in San Francisco, though, still prude, rather, compared to Europeans, perhaps. They are much more open-minded, and now I haven't seen that many polyamorous families around here, though. How would I tell? But there's a lot more culture that is not going to just conform with the state marriage, one man, one woman, or even, I guess, one man, one woman, one woman. A lot of these constructs are imposed upon us by history and by the state and by religion. And it's refreshing to be out here in San Francisco, where people are openly studying and pursuing polyamory and different types of living with other people. And I love that. So shout out to Apurv. I would love to have him. I think he's going to come on the show one of these mornings and talk all about polyamory and how and the history of polyamory in India, which is fascinating. Apparently India, as you may know, has a long history of liberalism when regarding social interaction and sexuality, until the last century, when a great shift toward conservatism happened, or whatever you would call it, religious dogma maybe. So yes, San Francisco, polyamory, freedom of the mind, and freedom of association is very, very key. Now, I've also been talking to people about the show, and it's actually really changed my relationship with my colleagues and people around. Just talking about something that matters, saying, oh, I'm doing this radio show, or I'm running for state representative in the California Assembly. The kind of conversations that I have after saying that with people are so much better than the kind of conversations I have after saying, oh, it's nice foggy day today, or do you see that sports ball game? No, I never actually bring up the sports ball game. But I've been having some great conversations. However, people are jaded. People are jaded about the political process here in San Francisco and California. Basically, every time I bring up something that needs to change, or something that's already changing, or even laws that have already passed or been repealed, and people are still so jaded that they don't even believe that it's changed, or they don't believe that it's possible to change. And of course, it's possible to change everything. I mean, we're actually witnessing tons and tons of change and increased freedom all the time, at the same time witnessing decreased freedom. So there's constantly change, and it's really up to the people who care to put a big ass stake in the ground and stand for what is true, what is the nature of all humans, for the rights of all people. And so I'm talking to them about politics. They are depressed about the Democratic Party in San Francisco being mainly out of touch and not empathetic. And I can this is what I see going on. There's a group of people who probably have some great intentions, but they are significantly more wealthy than the rest of the people in San Francisco. They want to help, but and so they want to help by controlling government programs and directing the wealth of the economy and society through their state programs, rather than creating businesses that will help other people in our city, in San Francisco. And this is a great intention. A round of applause for wanting to help people. But what they don't really see is that all of the taxes and restrictions that they use in order to direct resources into the government programs are really affecting the people that they're trying to help in a negative way. Just the price, the cost of living. Like, imagine you have this San Francisco 5% retail tax, extra 5% tax on everything. And this tax was supposed to go to helping people who need it the most. But really, it taxes the people who need the most who need the most breaks. The people who spend the vast majority of their income on things like food and clothing are the ones paying the majority of this tax. And the same goes with sales tax. And even if there isn't direct tax, for instance, the state income tax drives up prices across the board and ends up affecting the people at the bottom the most. The people at the top and the people in the middle. For San Francisco, I would consider myself in the middle, even though I have a fair position in a software company. But so we are actually able to make more money because we live in the part of the economy that's very corporate and that gets the new money injected into first. So we get, whenever there's new money created by the banks, we get that money first, and that's causing prices to go up everywhere else. And in addition to that, all of the taxes at every level of production, there's a tax that adds up. People here in the neighborhood are paying 3 or 4 or 5 times more for basic essentials than they should be because of all the restrictions here and the taxes. So I think that, and the big complaint is that the Democratic Party is not, they've lost touch. They can't empathize with the people they're trying to help, with the middle class, with the lower class, with immigrants. Now, I'm sure they do a lot of great things regarding social progress, and a change of culture is extremely important. But I stress a culture of independence and empathy, and above all, freedom. And all these people would be part of the Democratic Party. All these people I'm talking to, they just don't even participate. They don't vote or anything, and that's got to change. That must change, and we have to find a very strong rallying point. So for me, I am running for the Democratic primary nomination for state assembly in California, state assembly of San Francisco. There are 2 representatives, and my platform, I think I've completed the platform. There's one issue for my campaign. We are going to create a coalition of assembly people to have a constitutional referendum and repeal the IRS. We have to abolish the IRS. All 50 states need to get together. This is in the Constitution. This is standard operating procedure for the state legislatures. This is, in my opinion, one of the most crucial operations of the state legislature, is to have referendums by the people and their representatives in the states to change the federal government. Now, I don't want to get into a debate about which programs should be cut, which programs should receive more funding, which taxes this and that. I want to bring everything back and be more localized and more independent. And we have the IRS out of Washington, New York. They are crippling the economy in California. All of this money that we have, that 30% that all these high-tech workers are paying to the federal government, which really they're paying to the banks to pay for interest on the debt that none of us ever signed on to. The derivative fraud, paper garbage. And we need to not pay for that, but two, we need that money back here in our local economy. Now, I'd actually be in favor of replacing, if we abolish the IRS, go wild with your state. I mean, raise the state income tax. I don't care. We have to change the hierarchy of America so that all of the states are independent. We can have competition among independent states, and San Francisco can lead the way, and as far as competition among individual cities, to be the freest, most prosperous, desirable, humane place. And so we have to abolish the IRS. No question about it. We can't move forward without abolishing the IRS. That will help us vastly reduce the scope of the banker bailouts, the crony capitalist bailouts, which now number in the trillions of dollars. All of our money will not be going to those banks anymore. We have to abolish the IRS. We have to remove the warmongers. We have to end our wars. And there's no better way to do that than abolishing the IRS. If these private corporations, look, most of these, the wars, like most of the people in Iraq that are fighting are private contractors hired by private corporations to get the oil there. That's what it's all about. So here in San Francisco, as people, we don't need to be paying for that. Those corporations, they can go do what they want. They can start their own wars and pay for it themselves. Like, if we can't stop them from doing the war, at least stop them from making us pay for it. So we have to have a state constitutional assembly to abolish the IRS. I am running for Democratic assembly position in California to create a coalition to abolish the IRS. That is my platform. Otherwise, I want increased independence and autonomy for San Francisco. I want more money staying in the city. City government, state government, have at it, do what you want. We need to abolish the IRS, and you can use the rest of the funds, give it back to the people, spend it on your social programs, whatever needs to be done, but we have to abolish the IRS. So send me to Sacramento. We will get this done. We have to get it done. The future of our freedom depends on a much decreased role for Washington and an increased role for independent San Francisco and independent California and independent individuals like you and me. So, yes, hopefully that's going to go well. I am confident that we will lose spectacularly in the election and then win later, because We have the real message of freedom that everyone wants, whether they admit it or not. Okay, so I need to make sure to do some dancing today. I'm going to dance like nobody's watching, and I'm going to work on my encryption. I'm going to send some GPG emails to my friends that should... I apologize for not using encryption. Stop using Facebook Messenger. I'm sorry. I'll use GPG. So dance like no one's watching. Encrypt like everyone's watching because they are. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you like the show. Subscribers are awesome. That's a great way for us to keep being connected. Soon, I promise I will have call in Google Hangouts or something, and you can call in. If you would like to support the show, first thing you can do, share it on the social media, share it with the other people in the liberty movement. And if you're done sharing, you've shared enough, please donate Bitcoins at freetalksf.com/donate. We love Bitcoins. We support independent money and independence for all people, empathy for everyone in San Francisco. So please support the show. And until next time, be free, be independent, love your neighbor, talk to them, connect with other people on a real level, and have a ball.